Hey AfterBuzzers, we are talking Girls Season 6, Episode 3, American Bitch. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Desperado. Sitting in a
I never used to listen to this song. I never loved it, but it was perfect for the end of this
episode, yeah.
So perfect. But wow, we have a lot to talk about today, but before we get into the episode, let's introduce ourselves. I am Renee Ariel. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at Renee Ariel, and I have a panel full of lovely ladies. Where can we find you guys?
Hi, I'm Mina. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Mina Makes Magic.
Hey guys, my name is TK Trinidad. You can find me on everything TK Trinidad, and I'm also going to be doing the live chat. And let me do this quickly because I know I'll forget. Thank you to everybody that's been giving us a lot of support on our YouTube page. Happy Soiree, Dana Alexandra, Kalani Sears, Scrappy Moms, Marina Xavier, What FC, and Melanie Pike. So thanks guys for all your comments. We really appreciate it.
Hey, shout out to you guys. Hey guys, I'm Nakia Monet, and you can follow me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom. You guys love my name.
I do. I love Kiki Boom Boom.
There was somebody who watched the episode, and I think you were sitting here last week, and I was sitting there, and they were like, Kiki Boom Boom. I think that's the only thing they remembered from the episode. And then also, FYI, somebody else filled us in from last week's episode. There was a model. Her name is Joy Bryant.
Oh, yeah, Joy Bryant.
Yeah, so thank you to Melanie Pike who filled us in.
Guys.
That's awesome. Thank you. Now we know. Now we're in the know. But wow.
Yowzers.
I just want to know overall thoughts of this episode. What did you guys think?
Oh my god, this was heavy, and I really liked it. It felt like you were watching a court case, like there was a back and forth where it was like, okay, what's Hannah's side? What's his side? Who's innocent? Who's guilty? Is there a gray area? Because she kept saying, I don't like gray areas. And I mean, not everything is black and white, but that was a very heavy episode. It was one of my favorites that I've seen in Girls thus far.
A lot of different elements that played in, and I'm sure there's stuff that we've missed because there's just so much stuff going on, even though it was essentially the same scene. I mean, the same venue the whole time. So just a lot of things going on, and I definitely am a believer in gray areas, so some of the things probably you guys won't like, but whatever, we'll find out.
I really liked this episode a lot. It was intense. I loved how, like TK said, it was only in one situation, one room, his apartment. I loved how it started off light and got really intense and just went for it. So I really loved this episode. It's a really good episode.
This episode was genius. Like, Lena Dunham killed it.
She did.
I was blown away, and honestly, I kept waiting I was like, I wonder what other things are going to happen in this episode. And then the deeper we get into it, I'm like, oh no, it's like just this. This is intense.
And she wrote and directed it.
Yeah. She's
shout out to
killing
Lena
it.
Dunham.
She's so talented.
Yes.
I love her writing. I love her acting. I think she's so smart, and she sneaks these little things in and then throws these big things at us, and it's crazy. Every episode's great, but this one in particular, especially keeping an audience engaged like the whole episode for 30 minutes, we're seeing these two same people in the same apartment talking about issues. And it's interesting, it's fascinating. It is it's hitting issues that we've dealt with, that our friends have dealt with, etc. Like real issues going on, and that's what I love about the show is it really gets to the real stuff. But okay, so one topic that they did discuss was like hearsay, how anyone on the internet can pretty much say anything, and that's one argument you could put up with Hannah putting out this article on a blog. You could literally say anything you want about anyone on the internet.
Fake news.
Fake news. I can go online and write a bio about myself right now and retweet it, and someone would believe it.
Exactly.
I can say I'm Rihanna's cousin. I don't know.
So what do you think? Like, the internet, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? What do we think?
No, it's a great thing that the internet exists. I mean, this is one of the reasons you can hear voices that would have formerly been silenced, and it's something that Hannah mentions. And one of my favorite things that Hannah says is, people don't talk about this for fun, it ruins lives. Right. Because his argument the whole time is, you're going to listen to what a bunch of people said on a website called Tumblr, really?
Without an E.
Without an E.
I love Tumblr.
And I totally get that. Like, I understand his point. It makes sense. Like, anyone can say anything. But at the same time, why would someone make something up as it pertains to sexual assault? Like, nobody wants to admit that they were sexually assaulted. There's a lot of stigma that comes with sexual assault where people are victim blamed for that.
But notice that there was never a time that she said you sexually assaulted this woman.
Right.
They kept talking about the gray area, how what he was doing maybe just wasn't right, and how someone left that situation not feeling good about it and wrote something about it and then got in touch with. That was the whole thing. She never said, hey, you are you sexually assault people, or you're a rapist, or anything
she just
like
gave her
that.
opinion.
Just gave an opinion. Like, that was the whole thing, is it was in a gray area. Is that right or is it wrong? Is it sexual assault?
Here's the issue, though. What I found, you know, you have all those blogs out there, and you have people who put out that stuff, which is their opinion, which is fine. But for someone like Hannah, who is, her main interest is the story, why she didn't go to the girl, because she just saw the article on Tumblr. She could have contacted the girl, because the fact it's on Tumblr, she's able to contact her, and she could have, at least to cover all her bases, sent an email to Palmer. And if he didn't respond, then that would have tightened up the article a little, tightened up the article a lot. So then if he comes to her after that, she's like, I tried to contact you, and this is what she had to say. It's like she just didn't do, and this is the problem with today. You see a tweet, or you see something on Fox News, and you take the headline, and now you write all these tweets and all this stuff about whatever, and you're not doing any research. All the stuff that you repost, if you look at the tagline, it might say New York Post and some other three other words right after that, but you're thinking it's New York Post because you just glanced at it and you didn't even read the article.
Yeah, that's what Facebook is doing to us right now, because we're seeing all of these articles, and then you're clicking and looking at the actual website, and you're like, this isn't a real news source. What am I reading?
Yeah, at the same time, though, and I totally agree with you, I get your point, Hannah's defense was, it's 4 different accounts. So when the author keeps talking about, well, this girl threw herself at me and she did X, Y, and Z, Hannah says, you mean to say that all 4 people did the same exact thing? Like, how do you explain the other 3? Which is a fair argument. Like, how you think 4 people are going to come forward in a situation and talk about it on the internet, and it's
possible.
I mean, it is possible, but at the same time, like, I understand why she didn't check the other side. Like, her approach wasn't to see his perspective, it was to hear the voices that were underrepresented, because she constantly is talking about power imbalance, and he comes from a position of power, so she wanted to represent the voices that were underrepresented.
But she wasn't really representing them because she didn't contact any of them.
But
that's true.
The other thing is, she didn't say any blatant statement of, because it seemed like the only thing she was doing was portraying him a certain way, as opposed to saying he did this or he did that, as they stated in the beginning, saying whether there was consent or not. It was never saying you did this, you did that. Right. It was pretty much someone's experience who left that situation, again, not feeling good. It kind of goes back to, again, another gray area with that creepy teacher. What was his name? Mr. Lasky.
Mr. Lasky.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Mr. Lasky? Have you ever had a teacher that rubbed your rubbed your neck?
Creepy.
Again, it's not like it's just a neck rub, but at the same time, it's your 5th grade teacher.
Yeah.
Gray area.
And that's happened to Hannah in one of the earlier seasons. I can't remember if it was season 2, season 3, but remember she had a boss that kept touching her and giving her neck rubs. It's like, how is that okay in a professional setting, in a school setting, in any sort of setting? Right. You know, you never asked permission for that. It's creepy. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's super weird and super creepy. And I think that a lot of people are put in situations like that where it is a gray line, it's a gray area where you're like, is this sexual assault? Am I allowing this? Am I accepting this? Do I continue? Like, am I allowing this because it's continuing to happen? Right. So I think it happens to a lot of people, workplaces,
any position of power.
Yeah.
Yes,
and the fact that she was in the 5th grade.
Yeah, and not saying no, like, doesn't mean that you give consent to someone. That's the thing that so many people don't realize. They think that if you don't say no, that it means yes.
Right.
So
but I think what a lot of people,
silence doesn't mean yes. Yes means yes.
What a lot of people, like her teacher and what they do, they give the compliments. You're smart. You're a great writer.
They set them up.
They set you up. Let me rub your neck.
He set up Hannah to get.
He did the perfect setup.
He even set up us. There were times I'm like, this guy doesn't seem so bad. There were times that I was like, wait a second, because you see him talk about his daughter. That's the other thing. This guy as a father versus this guy as just a man.
Right.
Yeah.
hot, like black and white. Honestly,
But
it's
you
very
notice,
black and
like, when
white.
he's talking to Hannah and he's talking about his ex-wife and other women, he's such an asshole.
Yeah.
And yes, he's opening up, and you're like, okay, I kind of, all right, maybe he's a human, but then he starts to talk badly about, like, his
But that's
ex-wife.
not an asshole move. Like, you could just say a guy that you're dating, and then you ask him, or he mentions his ex-girlfriend. Oh, she's crazy. Well, was she crazy when you started dating her?
Right.
Yeah, or
So-
was she even crazy at the end? I mean, honestly, again, I think a really a good indicator of who someone is as a person is seeing how they talk about other people,
Yeah.
and especially seeing how he talked about women in general. But you still, the thing why it didn't hit us right away is because we've heard this. We know guys who will automatically be like, my wife is crazy. My girlfriend's a weirdo. Like, this person, I don't even know what he's talking about, what she's talking about.
These girls throw themselves on me.
Yeah, we've heard it. We've all heard it. That's not like a weird, obscene thing to hear.
On the flip side, that does happen.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, you see a person in a position of power, and, you know, take, for instance, I've known girls in my college days, like, their whole goal was to get with a football player.
Or a basketball player.
Or a basketball player. And, you know, they forget the whole love part, and they forget that this guy might have 3 or 4 girlfriends. The main goal is to get the guy, and if he doesn't fall for the okie doke, to get at least pregnant by him. So, like, my whole thing is that you can't just put blame on men, because they're only going to take advantage of women if they allow them on a whole group of things. You see what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like, all women, it reminds me of Chirac, Spike Lee's movie. If all women, for instance, were to withhold the vajayjay, that would change a lot of different things.
Right.
But the problem is, if you were to do that, then there's going to be a whole second tier of women that's going to be like, well, I'm going to try to get it on the back end. And now those women who withheld it, now they're asked out. So it's just like the whole dynamic of it is like, people are only going to take advantage of the people that they can feel like they could take advantage of. If they feel like you're a strong woman, and he put his hands on me or anybody else, and they felt like that person would be a threat, like they would tell their mom or they'll tell somebody else, then they're not going to go to that one. They're always going to go to the weakest link. So that plays a lot of different roles as far as parenting and all these other things, as far as, you know, there are predators out there. I was talking to like my friend, and she has like a 3-year-old daughter, and she's like, oh, well, you know, this will never happen. It's like, did you have this conversation? Like, my mom taught me from a very young age that nobody puts their hands on you, and if they do, you let me know.
Yep, stranger danger.
Because my mom was, she would Undertaker you. Like,
But that's what predators do. You're right. Predators, if they can't find a weak person, they'll try to find that person who they think may be weak, and they try to break them down. They try to break that wall down to find out what your weak spots are. And that's what he did. Well, that's what he was doing. And I think Hannah put her wall down just a little bit. And I think lost herself for a second when he invited her to even lay in the bed for like a second, because when he's talking in the episode, you do start to feel him. You're like, oh wow, maybe it was just a gray area. And I think she let her wall down.
Maybe he's just lonely.
And the audience, we even let our wall down for just 2 seconds, and then
he did something.
And I didn't even think that he was breaking her down in a bad way, because there was this part where he says, I wanted to get to know Denise. I wanted to get to know her better. So then he turns to Hannah and he's like, I want to get to know you better. And he starts asking her questions that kind of seem like these formulaic.
And she's smiling for the first time she's coming to the apartment.
Because remember, Hannah's a narcissist, so she loves any question.
Talking about her, like, let's talk about her.
Cater to her. So you want to talk about me? Cool. So he asks her, what are your goals in the next 5 years? Oh, to be a writer. I just want to write. And she says like the most beautiful quote about writing and how she wants people to laugh at pain, and she wants people to not feel alone the way she did, and all beautiful things. And this is almost like a breaking down or like an unraveling of her character, not necessarily weakening her, but making her more vulnerable and open.
Making her comfortable.
So she feels like she's in a safe space at this point,
Yeah.
and that's when he goes for it. Let's lie down on the bed together.
But he's also, the thing that we have to remember, even with Hannah, and especially with the girls he met before, this guy's already on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Because he's a writer. He's meeting these girls on book tours. Who is he meeting on book tours? His readers, his fans.
Right.
Like, that is when it automatically, like, it's not even. Because they in a sense, you like want to please this person.
Right.
Like, you want to impress them. So that's where it again, gray area. This isn't someone you just like met on the street going out on a like date with. This is some there's someone you really look up to.
Right.
Like a teacher.
Yes, and these are all college students. The four women that wrote the stories and were accusing him of the blowjobs, the forced blowjobs. These were all college students. And these are people that looked up to him, and that's what Hannah said when she first got there. That you're someone who I like a lot. Your writing means a lot to me. And I think he took that and was like, okay.
Well, yeah, he already sensed it, like, because if you remember when he was on the phone call with his wife, like, you know she's there. She's directly across from him. Then all of a sudden she gets up, which is a whole, like, you can't get up in my house and walk around.
What are you doing?
Walking through the house.
The fact that he allowed that to happen, that wasn't an accident. And the fact that there's pictures there, you know, you have family pictures and you have everything else, that is, because say for instance you walk into somebody's house and all they have is these cheesy, home and life, and nothing about you personally, then you can't get a sense of this person. But now she's walking around, she's seeing all these pictures of his family and all this other stuff, that's gonna make her feel comfortable. It's like, oh, well, he's invested in his family. That was a setup.
That was definitely a setup.
100%.
And he did
called
that
Hannah.
earlier. He did that earlier. Remember, he specifically said, I'm an open book.
Yeah.
You know, you can pretty much know everything about me. I'm honest. So you almost get this impression in the beginning, like, even if he is an asshole, at least he's honest and transparent.
Right.
And that
he set that
adds
up.
to the safe space. And I never thought about the pictures that way, so that's a really cute
The one with Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison is, like, renowned as far as authors.
Yes.
And she is almost, you know, included in that feminist array of things. So it's just like, well, if you have a picture of Toni Morrison, Morrison, you're okay by me.
Yeah, but the Toni Morrison thing actually didn't faze Hannah, because she even references that in the very beginning. Like, I know you have a picture of Toni Morrison, but I'm a writer, so I want to tell
But that's because Hannah is probably, like,
Her defenses were already up at that time.
So a girl who doesn't have her defenses up will look at that and be like, wow, this is a guy that I look up to. He's one of my favorite writers, Toni Morrison. And someone who's a little bit more weaker than Hannah would fall for the okie doke.
Guys, going back even further than that, he invited her
He called
to his
her.
apartment.
Yeah.
Not a public place.
Not a public
Yeah.
place. To his apartment, she went. He was already off the bat like, I'm surprised you came. Like, off the bat, it was a weird situation because did he have a mission? Not really. It wasn't like, hey, can you take down the blog? Hey, can you do this? It was kind of like, feel bad for me. I'm a good person. I want to get to know you more. Come into my bed, lay down with me, and then
Here's
he pops
my
out his
penis.
penis.
And then on the flip side, though, if he contacted her, what was in the exchange? Could she have said, could you meet me at a coffee shop? Or did he say, hey, you know, I want to talk about my work. Can you meet me here? Because that's already setting up position of power.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, we can meet here. Here's, no, I don't know you.
Why am I coming to your
Why am I coming to your house? And you don't have to say it in that way. It's like, no, I'm busy. We can meet at 6 at this coffee shop. It's close to your house.
But why did she go? Because he's at a position of power.
Yeah.
Because he is someone she looks up to. Is she not going to go? It's one of her favorite authors.
Right, and seriously, ladies, listen up. If anyone for any internship invites you over to their place or anything, do not do it. I remember I was in a situation before where it was a startup company and I was working out of the guy's apartment. Thankfully, nothing ever happened, but to think that I was so naive back then to be that trusting of people, I'm like, oh, it'll be good. It had never crossed my mind when I was young that it's weird to work out of someone's apartment. So definitely, no job is worth being in that position. Don't feel
Unless
afraid.
you have a taser.
Yeah.
Or you know how to do a chokehold.
Don't,
Which I know how to do.
Yeah, she's a huge wrestling fan, so she
Do
knows
it
it all.
You should be very afraid.
Yeah, so just don't do it. It's not worth it. And just thinking about that, she had to go to his apartment for this meeting is mind-boggling.
But she didn't have to.
I'll just say she didn't have to
She didn't have to
That's
go.
where it becomes the gray
line.
area.
Right. She didn't have
went
to
to
lay
the
in the
apartment.
bed.
She laid on the bed. However, why is he? It's inappropriate.
But he she didn't have to, but he knows he's in that position of
Yeah.
power. So he knows if I throw
Why
that out
did
there,
she lie on the
she's
bed?
gonna
Just like
come.
the college girls.
Because
Is it curiosity?
he made her feel comfortable. I think he broke that
But
wall
she
down.
wasn't. There was hesitance.
There was a
It was.
hesitation.
It was because it's awkward. He's like, come lay down with
Yeah,
me.
but she could have said no.
This is also
But
true.
that's where, honestly, that's where it becomes like very clear of the truth behind these girls' blog posts or Tumblr posts or whatever, because it was the most awkward, uncomfortable moment to be like, zip, unpants, and then pull out your penis.
Right.
That, when was the romance
But
in
before
Q?
he asked her to lay down, they shared a moment about the book, both of their favorite book. So they shared that cute little moment. She brings the wall down just a little bit, and then he's like, hey, by the way, come lay down with me. And she hesitated for a while.
That's 0 to 60 though. He didn't.
Yeah.
It was no like slow moving, like him touching her shoulder or nothing. It was literally just like, oop, there it is, and like almost as if he was trying to play it off like an accident or like her stumbling upon it. It was very predatory. It was predatory.
It was so weird.
I think he's really good at judging people as far as analyzing them.
Yeah.
And if he went and started, rubbing her shoulder, I was like, that would have automatically put her walls back up, and she would have ran out of there.
Yeah, because he made the joke. Sorry to cut you. He made the joke like, "Hey, lay down with me, but let's keep your clothes on because of." And he went
that
there.
was done purposefully.
He definitely purposely did that.
So why do you think that him touching her shoulder would be more off-putting than what he did?
Because she already mentioned in the beginning, or when she was talking about the teacher, that's a trigger. So like he's pretty much setting her up. He already analyzed like if she were, not to say she's weak, but he set her up to make her to bring the walls down and say, okay, this can all happen. And then she told the story, which all stories define us.
Yeah.
So she told this story that, she later then said, oh, well, it has nothing to do with you, but she still chose to tell the story, right? So she tells the story, and he already realizes, okay, this story is being told for a certain reason. So if he were to go and start putting his hands on her neck or something like that, then that would automatically, like, he wouldn't do that because of the story that she told previously.
Like she would have got super defensive if he touched her.
But his move, I totally understand that, and I agree with you, but his move was even bolder, and I don't understand why she would go ahead and grab it.
Because here's the thing. This is the problem. We're conditioned. We're like, oh, well, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. Here's the thing. We're watching a TV show. In that moment, it's not like someone's saying you, this is wrong.
Right.
What is happening right now is he's sexually harassing you. Like, we don't hear these things. It's kind of in the moment, and you're like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then she was like, wait a second.
Because it's worked before.
Yeah, obviously.
And when he laid on the bed, he didn't like jump in the bed and started taking off his clothes.
No.
He set it up perfectly where he was like, oh, and he turned his back. So he made it seem like, yeah, you can lay next to me. I won't touch you. This is okay. So even though it was awkward and she hesitated, I think she thought, okay, maybe if I lay down next to him, his back is turned, he won't try anything.
Right.
But because he's so slick, and he's done this move before.
It's worked before.
It's worked before. He did the whole turnaround, unzipped his pants, and just put it on her lap. And I think she was like, okay.
So terrible.
Yeah. It's hilarious because this reminds me of a story of mine. I was hanging out with a bunch of field workers, people in law enforcement. There you go. I was hanging out with a bunch of people in law enforcement. We were partying, we were having fun, we were drinking, all this other stuff. We're at a pizza joint at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was feeling this guy, but I wasn't quite sure. And I usually just say no off the bat. Pizza, in the pizza place, this guy whips out his penis.
Shut the front door.
I'm so not and I'm looking at it, and because I am, me, I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, sit on it? What's your point? It's like, oh yeah, like, great job, good, kudos to your mom, not going home.
You get a whole pie.
Right. Like what am I supposed to do with that? But that move has worked on somebody because he wouldn't do it.
They're doing it again, trial and error.
That's what he. Oh God.
I feel like guys don't get it though, because even the whole concept of a dick pic of people just randomly sending out, it's like a statistic. Like, oh, if I send out 100 of them, one person is
and that's all you need on a Sunday.
But it's not. They don't know. Like, it's not specifically targeting one person or tailoring a message. It's like, what can I get by casting out a net and seeing what lands?
Right. But it worked.
But it worked, just like TK said with the guy in the pizza shop and with this teacher guy Chuck. It has worked on someone. Right. And what they do, even though guys, no shade to the guys, but guys sometimes can be a little slow. So guys, they're gonna take it and be like, well, which girl is this gonna work on? Let me try it on these 5 girls today, because I know 1 out of these 5 girls it's gonna work.
Right, and it's the same with females. I'm trying to both ends. You have the females who, on Instagram or whatever, they're sending half naked pictures of themselves, and it could be, touted as female empowerment, but they're sending it to a guy and now he reacts to it.
Right. Thirst trap. It's a thirst trap.
And then all of a sudden she gets impregnated by an NBA player. Come on now.
That, my friends, is what we call thirst trapping on social media.
The ultimate okie doke.
I've never heard that.
Thirst trapping? So this is what you do.
In my life. Thirst trapping.
Thirst trapping. You can take this down. So thirst trapping is when you can send a text message to a male suitor that you are talking to, or
you just post it up on
a text
Instagram.
message or a picture?
A picture.
Okay.
You can take a picture as so. You can take a selfie with a blouse like this showing your cleavage.
Bras.
I am thirst trapping right now.
Right.
You put it on Instagram, you wait for the likes, the DMs.
Coy smile,
the smile, people are going to start putting the emojis under, and that, my friends, is called thirst trapping.
Right.
And you wait for someone to jump in your DMs, and you're like, hey, this is the guy I was waiting for.
I get what you're saying now.
See what I'm saying?
Well, my example of that, I don't have a name for it. Yeah, as if you're like, oh, well, he hasn't texted me back yet. Well, I'm going to show him and post like a hot pic, and then, definitely. I didn't know there was a name for that.
Trapping.
Now I'm very cool.
Some people just post those pics because it empowers them and it's what they want.
totally.
So
Right, but then if you get somebody, like, you can't complain when you get guys in your DM. Like, I'm guilty of it too, but when guys hop in my DMs, like, all right, cool, I knew that was gonna happen, but I'm not gonna say, can you believe what this guy said? Like, that's...
But there's a difference. You can slide in my DMs and say, dang, that picture, ooh, you're hot, whatever. I don't care what you're gonna say. But don't send me a picture of your penis. There's nothing that invites a picture of your penis unless I was like, oh, P.S., everyone please DM me a picture of your penis.
But that didn't work on you.
But it works on someone. Because sometimes the guys,
hello,
she said no.
Okay, well, I'll give it 3 more weeks, but it doesn't work on her. But
she's smart. She's going to say no. But this girl, she's going to accept yes. and say yes, which is crazy.
Sunday after girls, this is who I'm doing.
This is a total side note, but related to this, there's actually a really funny Dave Chappelle comedy sketch. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a stand-up routine where he talks about girls in turtleneck sweaters. So Google it. It's really funny.
I thought you were going to say turtleneck. I think it was penis.
I'd be interested to know like your guys' thoughts in the comment section about that
turtleneck
stand-up comedy thing. Dave Chappelle, turtleneck sweaters.
I will definitely look that up.
It's pretty funny.
Gosh, I'm learning so much tonight. So much homework. So much homework. Wow. Okay, the last thing, so we are running a little bit short on time. I want to talk about that powerful ending that you pointed out.
Yes,
actually,
it was super creepy.
Wow. I just saw a bunch of women walking around. I didn't realize they were all going into his apartment building. And though I don't think they meant like at that very moment while his daughter's upstairs, they're all like, let's grab your penis. But it's crazy to think that what they're showing is this happens a lot, which is what we were talking about, how many times it works.
Backtrack a little bit more to when the daughter is playing one Desperado, so you have the Rihanna reference. 2, the Pied Piper with the mice.
That was creepy.
And the kids.
When you pointed that out.
Like, she's playing, and then, Hannah walks out, and now all these kids / women are walking all the same. It's not if you go back, they're all walking the same beat.
Yep.
They're not walking different. There's not like different ones in heels, one's walking fast, they're all walking to the same beat, essentially, I forgot the end of the story. It's like they go off in a cliff or something crazy like that.
Which is an amazing, like, when you point out the Pied Piper and then you see the women, like, she's calling them on the flute because that's what the Pied Piper did with the kids. Then you see the women going into his apartment. That gave me the chills. And there was we pointed out there was a lot of references.
Yeah, the Woody Allen reference.
With the gun
to his head.
A lot of things in that apartment.
The fact that he, like, the whole thing with Woody Allen, the whole story with that, he left his wife for the adopted daughter that they had.
Yeah, that's
who they're still married. They're still married. Ironically, it's a whole nother story. But that's a whole another reference, because the thing is that there is a lot of gray area. What might not work for you. The guy who sent the dick pics to the chick, and the chick responded, and they had a one-night stand, might be married for 5 or 10 years. Like, what might not work for you, or what might not be within your standards, it might be cool for somebody else.
That is true.
And the other thing that you mentioned, you were talking about Woody Allen. This is a really interesting question that I sometimes struggle with. Do you think that if someone is famous and they have like some sort of sexual scandal happen to them, that you can still appreciate their work and support them and see things and compartmentalize who they are in terms of their work? Because in this episode, you have the author say, you can't let politics dictate who you like, who you F. Can
we do that. Look at people who still idolize Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Look at people who not idolize, but still listen to Chris Brown, R. Kelly. I mean, I don't know, but any other.
Polanski.
Yeah,
I think it's time. That's what we need is time. We first need that first like angry like Twitter rant, and then we read all the angry blogs, and we're like, I'm not going to listen to them anymore, and then fast forward.
It's just very dependent.
Same thing with Casey Affleck, who I don't know what the thing. Okay, first of all, this is total tangent, but Manchester by the Sea was one of my favorite movies of 2016, and he got nominated for Best Actor. I don't know if he wins because I'm not. I am not watching the Oscars right now. It's live right now. But there is a sexual scandal surrounding him, and
I heard there's a few.
Does that affect? Like, they're trying to make it hush hush. Does that affect if someone is going to win an Oscar? Does it affect how you're viewed in this industry?
Well,
Does it?
Here's the problem now.
The
It takes us back to the internet. So
Mm-hmm.
a really good one is Nate Parker, Birth of the Nation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole scandal with that. Now, I had a couple friends who actually read the documents, the transcripts to that, and what you see that's portrayed in the media is something totally different.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now his film, which was a really great film, pretty much got tanked because of that scandal that
Right.
happened over 10 years ago. So I just think in today's society, it goes back to, again, where you have, it's not necessarily letting that person off the hook, but actually knowing the truth of what happened in the situation versus something that your friend told you, that you heard by the coffee, that you read on some random site, and nobody knows the truth. Mm-hmm. Because there's three sides to every story.
Yeah,
It's
but
just, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no worries. Okay. The one things that I like, the one I guess scandal I cannot get past, and I will no longer support their work. And this is a specific example. Who is that guy from Seventh Heaven? The dad from Seventh Heaven,
yeah.
Oh my
who turned out to be a
God.
pedophile.
Yeah.
That I cannot. I
And it
can't
was
watch
so
Seventh
He was
Heaven
actually
anymore.
in.
It ruined it for me.
Was it Scandal?
Was he in Scandal?
No. There was a show that I was seeing.
I think he was
watching.
supposed to be in something, and then they cut it. I don't know
Yeah,
what
but
they
he's still
did.
working.
So
He was in something else that I
He,
saw.
I think he was on Lifetime as well. He does
I think he played a reporter on Scandal.
yeah.
Same thing
And, like-
with Bill Cosby, though. Like,
Well,
this is
Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, he's 70, so people are however old he is. So that's a little bit of a different thing. And then the whole thing
His image
with
is totally tarnished now.
yeah, well.
But I don't know.
You know what I'm saying.
I think we
We're
could
not gonna
talk
say it,
about
but
that
y'all
so
know
long.
why.
There's a whole nother thing with Bill Cosby.
with
I was
that.
gonna say with Roman Polanski. I don't know if you guys know who Roman Polanski
No.
is. Famous director. His wife
And he
was,
wants to come back to America.
He wants to come back to
Uh-huh.
America. So from this famous director, wife was Shannon Tate, I believe. I hope I'm not messing up her name. She was killed by Charles Manson and that whole crew. He had a scandal where he had
Underage girl or something.
He had sex with an underage girl. He is French, I believe, and he had to be deported back to France. Now, he's been living there for over 30 years. He was the director for Rush Hour 3, which came out, I believe, I'm messing up all the dates. It was in middle of 2000. So people had this petition. I remember the Oscars had came up because they wanted Roman Polanski to come back into the United States because this happened in the 70s.
Right.
And it's like people in Hollywood forgave Roman Polanski.
Yeah, like time. Again, time
Yeah.
heals
And
apparently
he's
most
trying to come back to the United States.
It
I don't
really
like
it really
that.
depends. Like
It depends who you are.
Yeah, it depends on who you are. Like, for instance, anytime Chris Brown comes up with certain friends, they're like the woman beater, and I'm like, I don't condone what he did,
Right.
but
Yeah, I think it depends on who you are.
Yeah,
in this, because Casey Affleck is at the Oscars, so
Yeah, so it definitely depends. In this case, though, I think that regardless of what platform that blog gets on,
Yeah.
there are still going to be girls that will still go to hotel rooms with him thinking
course.
other
Of
things will
course.
happen aside from what they're reading about. But that is pretty much, I think, everything in the episode. We didn't really look at anyone else, and I don't think we're going to get back to this in the
Right.
next episode, but we can kind of get into predictions from what we saw for next week's preview with Marnie and Desi. So what do you guys...
AfterBuzz TV prediction.
what do you guys think is going to happen with Marnie and Desi next episode?
Oh my god.
Yowzers.
That's a tough one. I mean, a lot of us are leaning towards the whole thing where Marnie doesn't learn from her lessons, but I don't think she's going to be with Desi in the next episode. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know she's not going to be with him.
But did you see that moment that mediator, I guess, was there, and they
Yeah.
were saying that Marnie was a narcissist and that's why they can't be together or something like that? It almost seemed like they were trying
Blaming
to
her.
work it out because it wasn't like a divorce lawyer. It seemed like a mediator.
like counseling,
Right.
Like
Yeah, or like actually like are they called mediators, the divorce mediators, that their goal is, I guess, to keep you together or
not
best
necessarily
interest
keep
of the
you,
kids?
not necessarily keep you together, but keep you from actually
Civil.
going to the court. Keep it
Right.
civil if it's kids or if it's assets or anything like that,
That's what
where
it is.
you don't essentially fight for 2 years to get it done. Like, I've known people, they figured out they're going to get a divorce. They wanted a divorce in less than 3 months. They're divorced. Some folks have been in the divorce process for 3 years.
Yeah.
Desi and Marnie. Ooh, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's
so
like
tough to predict with her. She's unpredictable. She just does whatever. She's impulsive.
She's not even unpredictable. We just don't know if she's gonna keep going in the same loop or finally not.
That's what I'm
did
saying.
she learn?
No,
we don't know.
right.
She
You don't know what's
didn't
gonna come from this
Yeah.
like mediator.
Maybe by the end of the season she'll learn, but by next episode she's not gonna learn.
Right? It's like when you have that moment where you're like, I'm never gonna text him again. Seriously, I'm like, if he texts me like bye and they text you like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's how
He
you have to
said
delete.
sup.
You have to delete the thread.
Yeah,
That's when you know
guys,
it's real.
delete
Yeah,
it.
but when you delete the thread, you can go and
Yes, you can.
you can find
You can,
find
I
that person.
have.
I think this episode actually ties into the rest of the episodes because if you think about it, everybody. Hannah is, about feminism, about empowering women and all this other stuff. And she fell prey to this guy's trap and she didn't even realize what was going on, which means that she hasn't done enough growing. Like she, it's one of those situations. There's so many avenues that she could have took. She could have said, look, you're the one who wants to see me.
Right.
You can meet me at the coffee shop. And if you don't, oh well. She could have took that avenue.
But
she could
is
have.
she at fault?
No, I'm not saying
No.
she's at
Oh,
fault.
yeah.
I'm just saying there's so many other ways she could have took that instead of putting herself in a vulnerable position. Because she went
She
to
has
this
a bit of innocence left.
right.
you're
She
saying.
went to this guy's house, and even say something far worse could have happened. She could have
Right.
got raped. She could, there's all these elements that she put herself in a position, and I feel like as a woman, there's not necessarily a timeline, but you either figure it out when you're 25 or you figure it out when you're 45 based off your experiences.
Yeah.
And based off of what happened today, it's like she still has a lot of learning and there's still some innocence there, which means that if you look at the rest of her friends, if Hannah hasn't figured it out, I think that Marnie's still going to stay with Desi because she hasn't, there's still so many lessons to learn, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We all want, her to leave Desi and actually, grow up and, but we're looking at her from the outside. But
Yeah.
everybody has their things, their quirks to grow up in. But I just think this episode almost predicates, where everybody is. Like everybody still has
like
lessons.
that.
Who is the most mature out of the girls? Who do you
Or is
think has
anyone
done the
even
most,
mature?
Who has?
Shosh.
You think Shoshana has grown
I think
the
she's
most because
grown
of
the
Japan?
most. Her in Japan on
Yeah.
your own. When you live far away from like everything you've ever known,
yeah, you have to grow up.
have to grow up
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
quick. So I'd say she is, regardless of how she talks and all of the words she shortens. And I think she's grown the most.
Yeah, but then you can almost compare it to like Charlotte from Sex and the City. She was also very
That's
mature,
true.
Right.
but in the relationship aspect, she still wanted to get married for the sake of getting married.
Yeah.
If you
So
think about
different
it,
avenues.
Yeah, Shoshana doesn't have that much relationship experience.
Yeah.
That's why she's a little behind in
Right.
that realm.
It's another
So
gray
she's-
area,
yeah.
guys.
So
It's
she's
an ongoing
definitely,
theme.
she's definitely grown up in the business aspect
And her
and
career.
her career and life per se. But if you put her in a back alley, she might still make stupid decisions. Like we all have growing to do.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
So I think everybody, if you were to take everybody's strong points from girls and put it together, you would have the ultimate somewhat woman in New York.
Yeah, Shoshana
agree
annoys
on
me
that.
so much, but I relate to her. I seriously feel like I see myself in her, and I feel like I relate to her on so many levels. But she's
And then I don't know if you noticed
Frustrating.
this. I don't know. I mean, maybe Lena, if you're watching, she actually lost some weight.
Lena Dunham?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
If you
she
look
did.
at the very first part of the scene where she's walking up, if you compare that to other last season, she's lost a bit of weight.
You know what else I noticed, which I thought was interesting, and this obviously wasn't the most important part of the episode, but when you see her in the very beginning, pay attention to her style choices because
Yeah.
The lipstick.
the brown
Always.
lipstick,
Accessories.
the silk blouse that's striped, and then even her
was
shoes
she
that
doing
are
with the paper
metallic
towel?
loafers. She was trying to wipe her boob sweat.
But she left it in there though.
No,
she didn't wipe.
that was the second wipe.
But the
Yeah.
first wipe, she
like
sniffed.
stuck in it. Ew.
She was wiping the
Oh,
sweat and
Hannah.
she sniffed
So
it.
disgusting.
And they didn't show her sniffing the part when she put it in her vagina.
Yeah.
That's
But
good.
stylistically, like it almost shows growth on a superficial level when you see someone's style progress
Yeah.
and you see that they begin to care about their appearance and how they're portraying themselves and the superficial impression they want to put forward to the world.
But at the same time, you can argue like she's putting on lipstick to
Exactly.
go see this guy who she wrote about
Right.
possibly
Because
sexually
remember, she fixed her lipstick in the elevator
Right,
as
she's
she was
looking
going
at. You
up.
only do that like there's you guys know we all wear makeup. There's certain days that we don't put on makeup when we don't give it F, and then
Yes.
there's certain areas like I have this hot date or I have this interview
Yeah.
or whatever, and now you're looking on your phone to make sure everything is in place.
And it's not a job interview.
Right.
Like she's
Right.
literally going to meet this
Exactly.
guy to talk. Like that's the
But
thing.
she respects him so much, though.
That goes back to the
Yes,
pedestal.
because as she's going up in the
Yeah.
elevator, she's like, "Oh, let me fix my makeup," and she
Right.
puts on the lipstick.
But
so it's
I don't know.
not saying it was inviting, but
But no, never
Not
inviting.
saying
These are
that.
just like little things we do.
Yeah.
Everyone does.
Right.
That you're like, oh no, I didn't even think about this. That But honestly, I could talk about this episode all night. I think we all
so it was
could.
a great episode.
But we are out of time. But I know. I cannot wait for next week. This episode was so good. Lena Dunham is just killing it.
She's
I'm
stepping
like
up.
blown away.
I would say last season she's doing a really great job.
And then right in
Yeah.
between the seasons, she had a lot of growth there with all
Yes.
those tweets and those
Oh,
messages
I
and people
know.
calling her out. Like, that's the good thing about today's society. That's the good thing about the internet. If you bypass all the trolling, comments and actually the comments that make sense and actually make you think about certain things. She's been called out a lot, and she was a big person. Like, she went on Breakfast Club a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I see where you guys are coming from. I totally agree with that, or I don't agree with that. And so
she's always growing. And she
had a really
knows how to
great
take
interview.
criticism.
Yeah, she had a great interview on The View as well recently, right before the
Oh.
show premiered, and it made me say, wow, I think Lena Dunham's growing up. So that's why I like to see her character growing as well. So she's definitely doing a lot of growing. That's why I think season 6,
Yeah.
she's stepping up her A game because the writing is amazing.
And because it's the final season. But now I have like so much homework. I'm really happy that I learned what thirst trapping is. But before we go, where can everyone find you guys?
Oh, since social media is so important.
Yeah.
Internet is so important, guys.
Internet's
You guys
important.
have to follow me on Instagram. More importantly than Twitter. Mina Makes Magic. That's where I make the magic happen, guys.
Ooh, I like that.
you can find me on everything TK Trinidad, just TNK, no extra stuff. Trinidad like the country, TRINIDAD on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of that good stuff.
You can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom. But quick thing, if you guys really like Marnie, she's in a new movie that just came out this weekend called Get Out. Check it out if you
Get
like Marnie.
out.
Get out.
Yeah.
And you guys can follow me at Renee Ariel on Instagram and on Twitter, and check out my blog, catslipstickla.com. And for all of us here at AfterBuzz, you can follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, on iTunes at AfterBuzz TV. So check us out, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.